G'day everyone. Thought I'd go live a couple of minutes early. So episode 31, going to talk about the team lists that are about to be named. They're expecting, Crichton to be named. Be interesting to see where he lands. And they're also, Brent Reid was saying Hutch will be named at halfback, which probably indicates he's in front. Considering he got to play against the more of the Melbourne sort of established players that were in that side, and Sexy was running against more of those juniors. But still up the floor from Sexy. So there we go. So just going to get it ready. We've got 1 or 2 minutes before everything comes out. Just cleaning everything up. There's a good little article. I'm loving these game plan videos that have had Josh Morris and Josh Reynolds involved. The current one's just been released, goes for about 7 minutes. I haven't watched it yet, so make sure you watch those. They should be awesome. I like that sort of initiative. It's talking about what players are good at, where their strengths are and what they've done. And he sort of breaks down the game of rugby league a little bit. It's really educational, which is, I think, is way better than drunken Buzz Rothfield articles. So just going to get the NRL team lists up. Should be up very, very shortly. Sorry about that, guys. Just trying to get it up. That's what she said. Oh, here's the team. Blake Taff at fullback. Let's get this show on the road. Present. Looks like this came out a while ago. G'day, Jordan. G'day, Matthew. G'day, Giuseppe. Never done a live stream before, so bear with me. But I'm just going to show you this team list. Here we go. So have we got it up there? Not sure how big it is. We have Blake Taff at fullback, Blake Wilson on the right wing, Bronson Cherry on the left, right centre, Stephen Crichton left centre, Josh Addo-Carr left wing. And that's what I thought last week. I thought that when they had Bronson Cherry playing on the left, which is good for him because he can be sort of next man up. If he doesn't start the season there, he can go left or right. And it was good for him. And you saw that he was able to throw a good pass on the outside and get a try assist and scored one himself after the injection of our brilliant young players. But they had Blake Wilson playing on that right wing, which he was a left winger in New South Wales Cup last year. So the fact that he's on the right wing, that tells you obviously the Fox is your starter. So the fact that Jacob Carraz isn't in this side, is he on the extended bench? No. So Carraz has had a little bit of a niggle. Obviously, we know about Connor Tracy as well. So we'll go through the whole team and then I'll talk about it at length. So we've got the pretty nice side here. The Blake Taff, Blake Wilson, Bronson Cherry, Stephen Crichton, Josh Addo-Carr, Matty Burton at 5'8", Drew Hutchinson getting the starting spot at half. To me, that indicates that he is the front runner for the job. He's been told he was the half. and has gone out there and they're going with experience first. That's not a bad thing. You've got the likes of Toby Sexton. He'll get to develop with those young kids, and I think he is more of a long-term prospect. Hopefully, we'll see what happens anyway. I'm probably jumping the gun. Max King and Powasa Fawama-Sili to start. Good to get Powasa in there and keep him with that starting impact. You know, to me, that I would have been happy to see Franklin Pele play that way last year, as would many. But Powasa looked really good. Let's see how he lines up against the Sharks, which we don't have their team yet. Hopefully we'll get that team before the end of this live stream. Kickout, Preston and Salmon starting at lock. Now, I think that makes more sense. Curran has that impact ability. He can still play long minutes coming on. I reckon Salmon on for the first 20, get the slick movements happening, creating lots of doubt. The other thing as well is Curran is already cemented in that top 17, no matter what at the moment, I believe. Obviously, Salmon probably has to prove a little bit more. So I want to see how he runs again with the likes of the Fox and Crichton out there as well. And when I've done some analysis, when you've got the likes of Crichton, Kickow, Salmon and Burton in the same team, what you have there is cohesion that we really, really need, and high quality cohesion, which we haven't had. You've got the fact that Burton and Addo-Carr have played a lot together over the last couple of years and formed combinations. And then it's up to the likes of Blake Taft to really hit the ground running. The bench looks fantastic to me. Kurt Mann, Samuel Hughes, Josh Curran and Curtis Moran. Absolute great impact. Kurt Mann can come on and play that small link man. He's got good leg speed through the middle as well. They can give Kickow an ice break and give Curran long minutes on the edge if they want. Also rotate him through the middle as a prop with Sam Hughes. You're probably only going to get 20 good minutes out of Powasa. And King, you're going to expect him to play 55 minutes a match if he's going to take the step and be that leader. Hughes, obviously, they're saying how fit he is, so hopefully he's someone who can get through long minutes as well and continue to have impact. Great to see Shorty Moran get that opportunity. And then we've got the reserve bench. So a lot of these guys, I reckon, will come on in that second half and they'll finish the game, a lot of them. Katoni Katoga, Eli Clark, Toby Sexton, Gerald Skelton, Joash Papali, Bailey Hayward, and good to see Bailey Biondi-Odo in there as well. To me, from 19 down to 25, that's your pecking order. You've got Katoni, which they may look as an edge player, but also he looks a bit bigger to me and a bit more physical. He might have to play a bit of middle. Toby's the next halfback to be picked after Hutchison. Gerald's the next winger after the likes of Blake Wilson. And look, I suppose what they're going to do is it's going to come down to whether Blake Wilson, Bronson Cherry goes back to Cup and they allow him just to continue to build that confidence, build that timing. And Carraz comes into the centres and Blake Wilson starts on the wing, or they go straight to having Bronson Cherry and Jacob Carraz on the wing. So one of those two are going to be out. The other side, Stephen Crichton and Josh Addo-Carr, phenomenal left edge. The New South Wales left edge, add Matt Burton to that picture. And it's a scenario where Crichton can even come in and ball play a bit and Burton can go a bit wider. We see it with Billy Army, who sits on the same side of the field. Sometimes he'll come in and ball play and Burton will run a bit wider. a comment was made, which I really thought was a good comment, that it's sometimes that Burton sits pretty wide. And I think that might be by design. There's definitely, last week, it was definitely obviously in the game plan to allow the likes of Hutchison and Sexton to really dominate and get their hands on the football as much as possible. Hutchison playing both sides of the field, Burton just sticking to the left edge, which is similar to Luai in a way. He doesn't really come to the right edge. He just sits on his left. Cleary plays both sides. So they're essentially going with a similar sort of tactic. It's all going to be about the back three making big meters. We saw Blake Taffel do runs on the fourth tackle. His leg speed's going to be imperative. If Crichton gets back there, he's going to be there to make meters as well. I feel they'll use Bronson more as the battering ram, so the player in that position who plays on that right centre position. I think they're going to have their hands on the ball, do more of the yardage work. Obviously, it'll be shared a little bit, but they'll be the main ones with the wingers. Wilson's quite good getting out of yardage, so he's sort of deceptive in a way. He does make the good meters. He's got good leg speed, and he actually gets a little bit of post contact as well. He gets through the line. He's a really good player. Carraz is great at it. So it's pretty easy to see how we're going to go about things in that regard. Obviously, as I said, big getting to the forwards, big meters from Max King is going to be required. The rotation with Sam Hughes, Curtis Moran, and Pawasa is going to be imperative. And do we see Reid Marnie? Look, obviously in this trial, I think Reid will play the full first half and then probably play about 5 or 10 minutes of the second half, and then we'll see, Kurt Mann rotate maybe into that role, but they'll probably bring Bailey Hayward or Bailey Biondi-Odo into that replacement role. Maybe they only run with the guys for half an hour. It's interesting to see. If you go back to the last season's games, I think they'll want to play as long as they can. They need to get to, it is a training run, but probably with a lot more vigour in this week's game. And the Cronulla Sharks side, if they name the likes of Royce Hunt and Toby Rudolph and all those big boys and Hamlin ULA, we'll see how good Hughes, we'll see how good Farmasili and King, how far advanced they are. For me, if they can hold parity in that middle, in that middle third, make sure they're in a good, solid line, play that field position, play that possession and control game that they did last week, possibly take a few other options. Like we left a few tries out there last week. Blake Taff found the lead runner in Preston, where if he goes out the back, we've got a 2-on-1 and score. And another one where I think where Burton's run the ball and nearly scored himself, but if he passed, probably, we get a 2-on-1 situation there, because that was definitely created by the play. There wasn't too many risks taken, but they showed how easily they could run a nice shape, get play at the back of it, and create those scenarios where the opposition's under a little bit of duress. Melbourne held firm. The Dogs didn't really take any risks, didn't really throw any big passes or long cutout balls to anyone. It was all a training run, in my opinion, and they're going to have some stuff up their sleeve to nail some opportunities. You can be rest assured of that. It's going to come down, though, in this trial and in round one, for me, it's about how they control the game, not so much the scoreboard, but how they go about their play, where they play the game, what part of the field it's in, where the halfback's getting them around the park, how everyone's working together. Are the opportunities being created? Now, the opportunities are being created. They don't ice them all. They get clunky with a bit. That's to be expected with so many changes to personnel. But it's all about how they go about it. And then once they start building confidence and understand that they can do the plays, then the points will start to come. If they probably unleash too much too early, then you have that situation where opposition teams quickly work them out, put them under pressure, and make it very hard for us to sort of win that possession battle. And that's been half our problem. What we don't want to see this season or in this game or in the early part is, you want to see that right mix of control and also not being afraid to take a risk. But last season, we saw too many risks being taken after long periods of sufferance where they needed to get into the grind. And a team that really showed the way with that last year was a team like the Warriors, where they had numerous games where they just kept on grinding and just kept on wearing the opposition down. And that's pretty much the Penrith blueprint. And it works. It's in a game of attrition, in a game which is so fast these days, where they're trying to keep the ball in play. If you just continually outwork the opposition, eventually you crack them and get them. And we even saw that in the grand final. The Broncos were forced into errors in that first half. Penrith really didn't threaten them too much, even though getting that try. Penrith leading at half time, but pretty much dominated possession, dominated the game. A bit similar to the trial match, actually. We were down at half time, but we were dominating the Storm. But in that second half, after the Broncos ran roughshod for that first 20, then they ran out of puff and Penrith came back and we all saw what happened. That's the way these teams are playing it. That's the way they're going about it. So Stephen Crichton is a centre at the Bulldogs right now. He can also be a goal kicker as a great backup to Matt Burton. I'm sort of thinking it wouldn't be a bad idea to take Burton away from the goal kicking if Crichton's kicking them better. Depends who's kicking them better, because it just frees him up to do more of his bombs and to put more effort into that, into his kicking game in general play, whereas Crichton can then do the goal kicks. We've also got Taft there, who's a pretty good handy kicker. You've got Sexton. So we're rich in all those areas. Lots of goal kickers. I think Drew can kick as well. So lots of goal kickers. It'll probably be Burton, but I wouldn't be unhappy if Crichton took over the kicking. He kicks at about 80%, which is Matt did a good job last year. He kicked at about 80% as well, which was fantastic. So I'm pretty happy with that team list. To me, that's close to a starting list. Jacob Kiraz comes back into that team. And you'd probably say a fit Connor Tracy will get back into that team as well, which would mean for me, you've got the likes of Bronson Cherry and Blake Wilson leaving. I read a comment today from a good person, that Josh Addo-Carr's not a walk-up starter into the side. I'm sorry, but he is. Just like Stephen Crichton's a walk-up starter, Matt Burton's a walk-up starter. I know that doesn't make everybody happy to hear that, but it's just the way it is in teams. These guys have got the X factor, they've got the runs on the board, and over a season they're going to do things which, they're match winners at the end of the day, and Josh Addo-Carr is a match winner. So definitely hope to see more of him. I'm just going to refresh this to see if we've got the Sharks team up there yet. Not as yet. It's funny though, they've got the Bulldogs side listed as the Sharks team there. I'll call it. Oh, here we go. There we go. Is that showing? Yes, it is. William Kennedy, Sione Katoa, Jesse Ramian, Talakai, Mulatalo, Braden Trindle, and Nico Hines. That is their backline. That is their strongest side. Canterbury have named their possible most strongest side without Kiraz and Tracy, who aren't ready. You've got Oregon Kafusi, and one that I can always forget about. He is a good young player and one to watch out for. Blake Brayley, very crafty at a dummy half. Royce Hunt, Nakora, probably the form edge-back rower in the game. T. Wilton is no slouch, and Cameron McGuinness, we all know how hard he works. with Jack Williams is now in about third or fourth season of starting in that top 17. Jesse Colquhoun, Toby Rudolph, and Thomas Hazelton. It does, for the Sharks, though, get a little bit wide on. These players are all good players. Peru, Cade Dykes, they've all got big futures. Daniel Atkinson, Billy Burns, Hayal Iro. They're like expecting that he needs to sort of break into that side, or he could be one that goes on the market. Hirotti's done some good things. Don't know much about Al Tapua, but he looks like a big boy to me. Let's check him out. 114 kilos and 196 centimetres, age 22. Wow. I'd be interested to see how he goes. So we're not going to see Samrani, all these players this week. Harry Hayes, Jack Todd, Joey O'Neill, Khaled Rajed. Liam Knight not playing now. That's interesting. That is very interesting. The fact he came on in that second half. Now, apart from all the fact that he had some really bad handling mistakes, people saying he wasn't running with vigor and wasn't. I felt he was defending. His play the ball speed was the fastest out of all the forwards. You know, it was nothing about effort. He just executed poorly. And it looks like he's playing New South Wales Cup. Unless he's got a slight niggle, which we'll have to find out. But yeah, it looks like to me that Liam Knight isn't in our best 17 at the moment, which is huge news. Liam Knight, he's all right. He's had a little bit too much of something tonight. Sorry. Bit unprofessional, but well done, Liam, and well done, Danica. Blake Taff, Blake Wilson, Bronson Cherry, Stephen Crichton. I'll tell you what, that Shark side scares the hell out of me. But that's what we have to beat. If we're going to be the best, we've got to beat teams that are of this quality. And it's a great trial to have at this stage of the season. They're big boys. But I really want to see how Powasa lines up against these big boys. If he can give us a good 20 minutes, we want to see him play at least 25 minutes in the regular season if he gets his way into the side. But he's gone out there and he's earned it. He's earned that spot from the development list. Well done, mate. Now, it could be that because Liam Knight is injured, we're not sure. We know we've got Ryan Sutton waiting to come back from a surgery that he had. That'll take a few months. We've got Chris Patolo with ongoing issues with his legs or shoulders or something. I'm not sure what, but he's had a lot of issues. I like this. Interesting to see how our pack weighs. Kurt Mann, is he going to play dummy half? Is he going to be the small lock forward option? Jamin Salmon got another chance to impress this week. And I love the fact that Curtis Moran is in that best 17. The way he played last week was fantastic. We want to see that again when he comes on, just that impact and that, that leg speed through the middle, which just sets us up for the following plays and has the other teams on the run. It's going to be a different kettle of fish. It's but there's experience in this side. There's some real talent in this side. I love these matchups. Mulatalo, the enemy number one. Talakai, the big boy. Jesse Ronian, he loves playing for the Sharks. He's aggressive. He's hard to pull down. Katoa. But I think we've got him for speed. I think we've definitely got this side for speed. And if we can earn it in the middle, get those shapes out the back and get those plays happening, I'm excited to see this. Stephen Crichton, Josh Adokar, Matt Burton, Hutchison playing both sides to link. with Jamin Salmon and Kikau. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. It's been slim pickings against the Sharks for a few years now, though. 36-16 was the result of the trial last year. Then they beat us 30-6. In a previous trial. So not much to show there in the stats side of things. But yes, it's another game at Belmore. Possibly two games during the regular season, which would be fantastic. You've also got Rabbitohs versus Roosters in another game. Obviously, that'll be reserve grade players playing that, players that aren't going to Vegas. So that it's good that there's a doubleheader happening. And you'll see some young future stars on display in that game as well. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Interested to see what's happening. Sorry, I've been looking at that for so long. What's people been saying? Oh, g'day, Pele. Pele's on Jordan's account. Paulie Walnuts. Good team aside from the front rowers. There's a lot of competition for spots and positions. Don't know how Bailey Beyond will get a run. He'll get a run. They'll give him a run, mate. Everyone will get a run on that team. But hopefully we'll see him press for a spot during the year. Very talented young player. Paulie prefers Toby at 7, but Pawasa is very impressive in that first trial. He and Hughesy really could solve a massive issue for us. We're all praying for that. We're all hoping for that, brother. Hutchison and Sex in the halves, 0. Dan's not a big fan of Burton in the halves. We've had a few run-ins about that. That's all right. Liam Knight played horrible, deserved to be dropped. I didn't think he played horrible. Dropping the ball 3 times is horrible, yes. But apart from that, where he was on the field and the work he got through, you know, I'm not one to, you know, you've failed in this aspect of the game for sure. But have you failed in everything? No, he didn't fail in everything. But when you rate him against the other props who played that day, from Jack Todd all the way through to Curtis, you know, 100%, he was at the bottom of the list. So I didn't think he was horrible. I wouldn't have given him over a 5 out of 10 though. But when you drop the ball 3 times, unfortunately, you're your own worst enemy. So it looked like it meant a lot to him, and hopefully we'll see hunger and attitude bring him back to the fore. But yeah, you're probably right, Dan. He did deserve to get dropped. Adorb's gameplay. They agree. So thank you. Thanks for joining and having a chat, everyone. I will say I'm excited. I think I've said that before. That's a really good bloody side that the Sharks have named, and we've named one as well. So to all those people who, you know, there's a few people saying, you know, didn't understand what weren't naming all our stars last week. This is what all the clubs do. They name their best sort of possible lineups that they can. Obviously, the Vegas teams had a little bit more going on, and the fact that they're playing that sort of weekend before, so their season starts basically in 2 weeks, not 3, and so they only have one sort of chance to have a real trial, whereas we've got 2 nice trials. And like the Sharks had a young side, they got blown off the park by another young side in the Knights. Knights probably had a couple more stars on their side, but really they were both. It was the youngsters that got flogged. Same with the Dogs versus Melbourne. We probably had a couple of more established players. You know, the fact that Marnie and Burton and that were playing. None of the spine of the Storm were playing, except for Pappenhausen, who needed the run. But you know, we rightfully won that match and should have won that match, and it was, you know, and we dominated that match. Absolutely dominated it. Could have taken a few different options in that first half against the stronger Melbourne side. But in that second half, the youngsters ran roughshod, and it was so good to see. It was exciting. I enjoyed the commentary about it. One thing that annoyed me a little bit, though, was this guy here, Harry Hayes, did not get a mention in the commentary, and I thought he did some great things. Ran a lot of decoys. He got in there and worked hard in defence, and he's a real player, Harry Hayes, and one to watch out for. Jonathan Saw, very, very young. I think he played SG ball last year. Actually got to go in New South Wales Cup for a few weeks. He can be anything as well. And Jordan Samrani, he had that one mistake, but all his runs were hard. He's a big boy, Jordan. And I think he's going to do some big things as well. This list here, I've got a mate who was, who probably feels that some of these guys that I'm highlighting should actually be in this trial this week. And he said more of them are likely to be in our grand final winning team than any of the players that have been picked to start at the moment. And I agree, because in the future, all of these players will be the future of the club. Luke Smith's another one. We've seen a lot of photos of him in pre-season training, actually, and he's from the Greater Northern Tigers. He won, he featured on one of our Elite Pathways videos earlier in the year, and he's a really good player. And he had a really good run. Really scored a try in that second half. And William Mafawalo, he looks like a big boy. He's going to grow. He hasn't stopped growing by the look of him. So between Lit Boy, Hot Boy, and Afawalo and Jack Todd, there's some big boys there coming through. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Liam Knight not being in this side at all is the biggest thing for me. Totally unexpected. I thought he'd get another chance, another crack. He's either injured or he's been dropped because the other guys outperformed him, and that's fair enough. Looking forward to seeing Joash. G'day again, Pele. Your son was loved by everyone last week, as he should be. And, the future's looking very bright. There's one thing I wanted to say to people, because there's, they want to throw him in now. And there'll be calls if we're not doing well, things aren't going well. There'll be calls to say Joash needs, because I'm sure he's going to have a fantastic season in New South Wales Cup, touch wood, as the fullback for them, you'd suggest, or Flegg, or wherever he plays. And there'll be calls for him there'll be demands from fans to bring him into the side if we're not performing. People need to remember Benny Barber in 2008. He played the last game of the season. We got wooden spoon that year. They gave him a run in the last round. He was phenomenal in under 20s. He was a phenomenal player as a junior coming through. And then I think he got 3 games in 2009, 3 games in 2010, played a fair bit of the 2011 season, and then wins the Daily M in 2012. So, that's how you bring a kid through the system. I remember I think he punched Jamal Idris in the face at a nightclub in 2010, which they dropped him. So he was actually in the side, but he had a little misdemeanor off the field, and they dropped him back, and he worked his way back into the team by 2011. So it's Joash is only very, very young. He's like 18 or 19. He's got a big future ahead of him. Same with Bailey Haywood. Bailey's a bit older, obviously, 20 or 21. These kids are going to gradually come through the system. They've got all these players like Jake Turpin, not named, was interesting as well. So he might be carrying a bit of a niggle, you would suggest. The same as Jacob Carraz. So, look, I'm excited by the depth of our side. It has a lot more depth. The balance still, these guys are all Hughes, Hawasa. They've got it all to prove. Max King's off contract as well. I'd say in deep negotiation with the Bulldogs right now. Jamin Salmon wants to be a 200 game player. Kurt Mann, probably in the back end of his career, but obviously wants to contribute and do a lot with Canterbury, and I'm sure he's got other aspirations as well. And Josh Curran, still very young and about to hit his peak as a footballer. Played big minutes for the Indigenous side, and his efforts in defence were fantastic. He popped up everywhere. He was energetic, and that's what we're going to expect from him as well. I still think he'll play long minutes, and they will rotate him from starting to bench depending on the games. To me, it makes a bit more sense to have a bit more of a mobile player to start the game, and then bring on that energy and leg speed during the game. As long as you've got two big boppers there, and plus we've got really competent, strong edges, it's just all sets up for us to do well and play well. I'm expecting this Sharks side to have another solid year, to be definite top 8. And, depending on injuries, if they have their best, most experienced side out there week on week, they could be competing for the top 4 yet again. And then you add a player like Adam Fanor-Blake to them in the following year. It's going to look good. For me, they do have inexperienced halves, but both of them are primed to do a good job. I could talk all day about it, to be honest, but probably going to have to call it a day on this now. So, lots of thoughts here. Pete, how you going, Peter? Liam Knight, he's all right. He's being dropped to the bench tonight. All right. Not surprised to see Liam miss out. Definitely need Pawasa to fire like the bench. Cheers. Chat later. Cheers to you, brother. No, I'm not going to the Sharks Bulldogs game. I actually live in Queensland, so I got to go to the Belmore game last year. Took the whole family down. It was a fantastic experience. Got to meet Terry Lamb, which is about the second or third time. But tell you what I love about Terry Lamb, he literally looks around for people to shake their hand. He just sees that there's people there looking at him, and he, rather than, turn his nose up, he just embraces them, goes and shakes their hand, says hello, has a chat. Just a good bloke. Likes a drink. Dan, Joash Papali, sensational. He is sensational. I can't wait to see him progress and knock down that door. And the harder the door is to knock down, as long as Gus and that do keep everything in check and have them ready to go, keep them primed, as long as everyone's having the right conversations and they all want to play for the Bulldogs, we're going to keep the right ones, filter them in one or two at a time, give them that taste as the season goes on. What you want to see is if we're doing pretty well, Origin comes up, a player like Crichton, Burton hopefully gets a go, Josh Addo-Carr, all those players get a go. Max King is in the. They're talking about him to play Origin. They're talking about Jacob Preston to play Origin. If that sort of stuff's happening, it means we're going all right. Okay. And then if those players are away for Origin, you've got the kids can come up. So they might bring the next man up. They'll bring in the Wilsons or the Skeltons but then they might say, all right, Joe Ash, you're going to have a go because, we're playing another team that's being decimated by Origin. It might work out that way where it's a pretty two young sides playing together. They might be able to afford the fact that we've got that much more depth in our side, we can bring experienced players up to do the job. You can then also bring an inexperienced player to have a go and give him that taste. And that's what I'm talking about. When you may not be expected to win the match, it doesn't matter. You want to have them coming into a side that's confident. Why do you think the baby Broncos are always successful? Because they'd all been toiling away. They were the best juniors in the Brisbane area, all waiting for their opportunity with a champion side that were half that side or more of it was playing Origin. They'd all have to come in together to do the job, and it could be their first and last opportunity. And he took it with both hands and totally ambushed sides. Some massive upsets caused by those young teams, and that's because they had a great culture. Everyone's bought in and really stacked with junior talent, and that's where Canterbury wants to be. It'd be tough on. We've only got 2,000-3,000 juniors. It's increased to be the highest number it's been in a long time. That's the juniors in the local area, which borders on with and they have to fight for those juniors with a couple of other areas around them. It'd be hard on them because you've got these other pathways now where they're bringing down, the likes of Bud Smith. They bring a Blake Wilson down. They bring a Carla Lawapu down. They bring, all these kids from the north coast of New South Wales and the best talent from all over, Australian schoolboy reps and stuff, and bring them into our pathways. It can drive fear into the locals. But that's the idea of it. They need to be able to have that competition, to really compete. And that's to drive greater performance out of everyone, greater standards. It's not just about what we're talking about in the NRL. It's about what all these young kids are doing, the competition for spots. That's why, you look at Penrith. I know we talk about them all the time, but they've got so many juniors that are playing for other clubs. All they want to do is play for Penrith, but they can't get an opportunity because they're just not quite as good as or as ready as some of their teammates, or they're in a position where they're unlikely to get a crack, and that forces them to go to other teams. And some of those players have gone on to represent, play internationals, to play Origin. This is what happens. And that's what we want for Canterbury. We want a situation where these young kids, some of them are going to go. Some of them we won't be able to retain. Sometimes we're going to pick one kid to be our star, and it may not turn out that way, and we let the other one walk out the door, and it could go pear-shaped. People talk about Jonathan Thurston a lot, but nobody would have been prepared to say at the time, let Brent Sherwin go after he just won the premiership. You know what I mean? No one wanted Braithen Astor to leave. That was the outcome. So with success comes all these decisions, and they're not going to get everyone right. So I think we need to be a little bit more understanding about some of the decisions that are made throughout the season. Anyway, I think that's enough. 45 minutes. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. It's great to read all your comments. Really happy with that. I thought I was going to be here talking to myself. So did that at short notice, but yeah, excited by those team lists named. Interested to see some of the other games as well. And it's not going to be long before we play the Eels in round 1. Now, the side that gets named 1 hour before the game starts in round 1 against the Eels, that'll be the team. And haven't forgotten, we've got the competition. So the winner of the competition will be the person or people up to 2 maximum that gets the closest team. And if we've sort of got one player different between a few different entrants, I think there's about 30 people that entered, which is fantastic. What I'll do is do one of those live random draws, which I'm sure I'll be able to work that out on Google or whatever. But what you can win, Jacob Carraz registration plate, or you could win the Jacob Preston one, or I've got the Josh Adokar one. So these are brilliantly, and they got them relatively cheap, as I got them through the Nighttime podcast, which is more than just talking about the Knights. It talks about all rugby league, and they're currently got a promotion going as well, if you like. So check them out. Nighttime podcast, starting with a K. It's like a TV show. It's like a footy show. They have live callers call through. It's great. Really great initiative. They talk about all games and all rugby league. And at the moment, they're giving away a rugby league ball bag. A ball bag. No, a big rugby league sack to. I'll make myself laugh. To carry the rugby league balls for a junior club. So if you log on to there, or if you're interested, and you know a junior club that could use some extra sort of resources, there's a chance to win that if you go on and log on. I don't have the details, but Nighttime podcast, check it out. All right, that's me. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is the first live stream I've done, which was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think it went all right. Hopefully I haven't said too many things to get myself into trouble, but I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in, and go the Dogs. Good luck this Friday. Cannot wait.